Hey, it's episode number 290. Holy smokes, how did we get to 290? You guys are awesome. Thanks for sticking around. Hey, today's episode is with my friend Kristy Gayton, the founder of the Start Planner. So if you are a productivity and a planner nerd just like I am, get ready. This one is definitely worth a listen. Let's talk about your business, strategy, and the juicy details of what actually works, from mainstream fashion to fashion on Main Street and the entire ecosystem behind it. How do we scale your company and do it with the balance and the happiness that we all seek? Let's hear from those insiders, experts, and strategists that actually make it happen. I'm your host, Ashley Alderson from the Boutique Hub, and I can't wait to chat. So earlier this year, I feel like our stars aligned when I had the opportunity to digitally meet my friend Kristy Gayton, who's the founder of the Start Planner. You may have seen her line of planners or heard her podcast. She's an entrepreneur, a productivity expert, a podcaster, educator, finance nerd, dreamer, overachiever, lover of design, among many things. She is a woman who means business and who also knows planning and productivity. It isn't about being a Pinterest mom. It isn't about perfection. It isn't about making sure your New Year's resolutions are absolutely perfect and you never deviate from that plan for the rest of the year. In fact, the more I got to meet Kristy, the more I loved her spirit, because she's someone who loves planning and productivity and all the things that I know you and I are both into. But at the same time, it's not about perfection. It's about planning in the chaos and making that chaos work for you, because it's the beautiful thing that's called your life, right? No one's life is perfect. And I think that is this oblivious lie we're told on social media every single day, and that somehow a planner is going to make it all perfect. And really, that's not what it's about at all. It's about doing your best to stay on track with the goals that you found for yourself. But after living through 2020, we know that sometimes a pivot may be the best deviation possible from our intended path. So today I'm really excited to share this conversation with you, because it's an honest conversation about what life is really like and what planning is really like. And also we're going to set you up with some productivity tools that if you're someone who needs some structure and who needs a great way to set goals and to set up your week for success, Kristy is definitely someone who understands that. So from one planner nerd to another, we're going to go down some rabbit holes in this conversation. If you haven't already had a chance to meet Kristy, definitely follow up in the show notes after this podcast. Listen to her podcast as well. I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to guest on her show as well this year. But check it out. And if you don't already have a Boutique Boss planner, you may also love a Start Planner. It's actually one of the very first planners I ever purchased. And I think the brand is an awesome opportunity for all of us to stay more organized at home or in business. Now, you guys know our motto at the Boutique Hub is community over competition. Right? It's about coming together with others that are just like you, that share interests, and to provide tools to those that you serve in terms of whatever may fit them best. So I hope this is a great example for you guys to find others that are in community with you, just like Kristy is for me, someone who is a planner nerd and a planner junkie, so we can come together and share our best tips for you now. Guys, meet my friend Kristy. I hope you love this podcast, and don't forget to take a picture and let us know what you're doing while you listen, and shoot it to us over on the gram. I hope you enjoy. All right. Hey guys, welcome back to the show this week. I am so excited. If you have a notebook handy and you like productivity and getting things done in the new year, this is definitely the episode for you. Kristy, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
I feel like we are about to be two planner nerds nerding out on getting things done. Sound good?
It sounds really good. We both know that a plan is how you get somewhere if you're wanting to get somewhere. So I'm excited to have this conversation and to leave some inspiration for everyone.
I love it. You know, the Start Planner was probably one of the very first planners I bought, probably like 7 years ago. So to see like your brain compartmentalize all the different areas of your life that you can be more productive in, more healthy, save time, energy, all of that, I'm all about it. So let me start here. As you're going into the new year, and everyone has New Year's resolutions that they start and fail, what's your best tip for getting your New Year's resolutions right?
Well, first I want to back up and say the evolution of our planner has completely been refined and grown. And I think it's been through seasons of growth and realizing different things that we did need. And I think that's kind of a really big point that I want to make, because I think we also have to realize that for ourselves, that a lot of times it's things that we're doing. It's not us that needs to be changed. Like we are perfect and we're designed for something, but a lot of times our habits or our strategies for success needs to be tweaked. And it even can be an extreme in one way, meaning I am someone that is very driven and can hustle and can sacrifice and not sleep and do all those things. And that has consequences too. So our START system has really been a cohesive system that helps you to align and balance to have success. And we all define success differently. So I just wanted to make that point before I dive into answering your question, because I think a lot of times we have these expectations for ourselves and we beat ourselves up for not hitting those expectations. And what's exciting about the beginning of the year, it's kind of a fresh slate. It is the beginning of a year. It is a time where you can kind of let go, clean house. And so when talking about, I hate the word like beginning of the year, like set goals and intentions. That is a huge time of the year to do it, but it's something that we should be doing all the time.
Yeah.
Like we're either growing or we're dying. So we always should be pushing growth, be pushing to have strategies for being better in multiple different areas of our lives. And it's hard. Life's hard. Like we all have a lot that we have to juggle. Coming up with a plan and coming up with strategies for each of your goals is important. And I think that's where you should start.
I love it. When you see people use your START system and they sit down, the beginning of the year is always kind of that marker, but you're right. We've got to do this all year long. What do you think is the best way to dive into creating intention for the new year and starting to lay out that plan?
It's a great question. And I actually think it's the reverse of maybe what most people think. And it's actually resting. It's actually taking a second to reflect. And we all get so busy. And a lot of times in that busy, there's just noise. And we don't even really know what we want. We're just having people tell us what we want or what we should do. So I think just taking some time and space for yourself to really reflect and recharge and map out, like, what is my vision? Like, where do I want to go? What does success look like for me? And you guys, that can change. Like there's been seasons of my life, I look back and success for me, I valued being significant and having certainty in my life. And now success for me is I value love, and love is not just loving another person, loving what I do, loving other people, there's just so much. So love is a big thing for me. So when I measure my success, that is a way to measure that success. It's not looking at external things. I think unfortunately, in this day and age, like a lot of us look for external things for success, like the keeping up with the Joneses or the social media, the comparison and all of that. And I really want to encourage all of you guys to not do that, to not fall into that, and to really just take some time as you're outlining your goals and your visions and what you want. Take some time to yourself. And maybe even once you have that time to yourself, get with different people in subsections of your life, which I like to call accountability partners, or someone that will just help you see your blind spots. There's so much power to having someone else to hold you accountable, or a coach or a mentor that can push you beyond your own needs, but then also see blind spots that you don't necessarily see for yourself. And then you come up with strategies to make sure those things happen. And so it's not just like, you have to gain this momentum. You have to want to do this thing. So if it's health, if you want, you have to want to be healthy. You have to know that you have to get that sleep. And health is not just physical health. When I say health, it's like spiritual and mental, emotionally, all of that ties together. So that you're not just starting it, you're gaining this momentum and you keep doing it day after day after day. So these habits that maybe we currently have, we look at those habits and we change the strategies and the approaches so that we are heading in the direction towards our success and towards our alignment.
I love that. So it's not just the start of the system and getting with the person that can see your blind spots, but it's keeping momentum, with that system. How do you recommend people follow up on those goals and what they reviewed at the beginning of the year with that accountability partner? What does that look like for months and quarters down the road?
So I like looking at a vision long-term for a year or 5 years or 10 years. I think that's important, right? Like visions in our lives are important, but I really feel like planning, the act of like planning business, planning financials, planning big things, really a lot of times can only be done a quarter at a time. And I think that the year that we just went through kind of taught us that, right? Like we don't quite know, and we have to have the ability to pivot. So I like to say sitting down at a quarter at a time, you're planning out your financials. What are you going to be doing to rest and recharge, which means, is there any vacations in there? What are your home projects? What are your strategies for your success and your relationships that are important in your life? What is your strategies for your health? And again, I talked about physical body health, but then also your spiritual, emotional, your mental health. So I like planning out a strategy around those 90 days at a time. I feel like that's quantitative. It's right in front of us, and we can touch it, see it, and be able to go after it. Mm-hmm. But then every single month, I assess those months. I vision out those months. I time block out, and I always set projections for finances for a quarter. But then every single month, you're dialing those in, and so you're setting those projections, and then you're saying the actual. Same thing with your goals. You're setting these goals, but then you're dialing them in. So every single month. And then every week, you guys, we sit down and we make a list for the week. And our list, our to-do list, like I think that a lot of people need to audit their to-do list, and then they need to audit their schedules. Our planners are set up in a very specific format. And the reason being is it's the things that we do every single day. It's those small things that actually add up to making those goals or the direction of our life head in the direction that we want. And when I say I'm saying this from experience, because I have had to audit my own schedule. I used to wake up, jump right into my to-do list, like try to get after it. But then I realized I was burning out, I was reaching burnout points, or I'd wake up and I've had a really bad day. And we all have good days and bad days. We all have more productive days than not. And ultimately where we thrive is when we see some sort of progress. So our planners are set up to help us to thrive. So just to talk about a day perspective, every single day, I'm all about priming your body for being productive. So instead of just jumping into that to-do list, you're waking up. I'm Christian based, so I like to wake up with scripture, but it's quote scripture, whatever your spiritual calling may be, but it's mindset work before doing that productivity. So then the next thing I like to do is gratitude. So you're either in a fear of being grateful, or you're in a state, you're either in a state of being grateful or you're in a state of being fearful. You really can't be both. And when you're in a state of fear, typically you don't operate the same as being a state of gratitude. So I like to list out 3 things that I'm grateful for. And it could be like I have running water in my kitchen. I just did, kitchen renovations. It could be small things, big things, whatever it is. But again, it's that mindset work. And then you're already listing out your to-do list from the day before, or you're building that prioritized to-do list. You're finalizing it. And, you're then working through that list. So, and then at the bottom of our pages, we have an entire section on self-care, which is tracking your water, planning out what you're going to be eating. What are your vitamin supplements? Are you working out? And it's also weird things, not weird, but very intentional things that are also important is like tracking your sleep. Also, what is your energy level for that day? Tracking your energy level. And then what are you going to be growing that day? So I'm big on 30 minutes a day of growing. And that could be reading, it could be podcast, it could be for different things. But I really feel like when we're in a state of growth is when we are in our peak state to be like the best version of ourselves. And then on the right side of the pages, or depending on if you're a weekly plan or a daily, but I'm big on time blocking out your day. I'm very efficient with technology. I'm all about Zooms and iCalendars and all those things. But for me, I am someone that needs to vision out my day. And so I time block out my day very specifically, and I put like-minded things together to be efficient as possible. And also so that I'm being the energy that I need to be on all these different things and making sure I'm resting and staying balanced and alignment. And I just think there's so much power in pen to paper. Like it's been proven as far as retention, it's been proven as far as vision out. So I feel like pen and paper and it's just the way to go. So that is, basically in a nutshell, why our START system is set up the way that it is, because it's all about our energy. It really backs into that. Like whatever we do, the quality of energy that we bring to do it, whether we're at the gym and we're halfway at the gym, or at home and we're like halfway at home and still trying to finish up work, or all those different things. It's the quality of what we do. So a lot of things that are in the START system are really just to kind of grade ourselves mentally and to check ourselves, like sleep. Like if we're having a week that we didn't get much done, you can start looking at these patterns like, was I not sleeping? like, what did my schedule look like? Is there some things on my schedule I maybe shouldn't have on my schedule, or things on my to-do list that don't back into my goals? Is there some boundaries I need to be put in place? Is there some things that I'm saying yes to that I need to say no to? So I think a lot of it too is just growth. It really helps us to be self-aware and to grow our own personal selves, because we're all on different journeys and we all have different needs and schedules.
I appreciate that. I feel like there's this misconception out there that life is a zero-sum game. Like if you're 80%, focused on being a great business owner, that means some other area of your life is going to suffer down to 20%. You know what I mean? Like if you're great at business, it's going to suffer at home. But I don't think life is that way. I think when you're committed to personal greatness or, improving yourself in all these different areas, a rising tide lifts all ships. How do you view that? Do you view like when you start to really focus on greatness in one area that it really spills over to others?
So you're talking to the author of Start Balancing. So talking about this thing, it's like balance is something that I think is hard for us all. It's a common topic, but I've had someone explain it to me like this, and I think that this will kind of answer your question. Like a lot of times people view balance as a pie chart, right? A lot of big people that speak in this area of development, they view it as a pie chart, making sure it's equal or equal balanced or equal things. And here's the thing is, I like to say it's all as spinning plates, and the plate that you must spin is yourself. All right. So imagine a plate, you're throwing it up in the air and you're spinning it. Mm-hmm. That plate that is self-care, that is yourself, which is embodying growth, yourself, taking care of your health, getting enough sleep, doing things that you like balancing yourself. That plate is essential. All right. So then that's putting you in your peak optimal state. Then that fills into another plate that's spinning, that it's work, professional, or mission, right? And there's another plate that's spinning that's your home life, your relationships, your kids. There's another plate that's spinning that's your contributing and your giving back. There's another plate. So imagine all these plates spinning, right? So what you have to figure out is I got to keep my self-care plate spinning, but then I have to start to bounce to all these different things so that I don't get, one doesn't get depleted, right? And here's the thing. Not everyone's plates spin the same. Not everyone's plates need to spin the same. But I do feel like that self-care plate should be everyone's focus. And it's usually what we do last. We self-sacrifice to make sure our family's taken care of.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is we start suffering, and then our relationships start suffering, right?
Yep.
So I like to look at it in that angle, because balance, there's no such thing as like perfect balance or alignment. It's constant growth, constant pivoting, constant learning to spin those plates, and different seasons of our life, depending on what's internally happening in our worlds and externally happening with our worlds, with our own needs and desires and wants. And it's really easy, like I said, to get on social media and to feel like, oh, this person's got it more figured out. You have no idea what plates they're spinning and what plates are actually you think they're spinning and they're on the floor. So it's just important that when you're talking about this and when you're looking at this, that you just really ask, what plates are you spinning? What different areas of your life? That's why in our planners and the goals, like it's set up in a very specific format. It's got the goals section. Then it goes into plans, which is, all the things, the celebrating, the contributing, the home life, like all the different strategies that make those goals can help those goals to happen. And then it goes into the actual months and the days and checkpoints for each of those. But it goes back to those goals, and you have to have strategies for all those different areas of your life. Otherwise, one is going to fall off kilter. And when that happens, it's going to start affecting other ones. And the main one that most people do is that self-care or that self-sacrifice. And whether they're taking care of their physical body, but are they taking care of their mental body? We're all like one being. So that's just my opinion on it.
I love that. When I think about planning, we've got this whole strategy called the 4-part to-do list, and it kind of breaks down really what's essential every week that we can time block, what's most important this week, our biggest rocks, what's our later list that we can put off till next week, and then what can we outsource? And when I talk about that, I always look at first, what's my personal boundary? And as I'm thinking about where my brain goes with that, it's essentially what you're saying. Like if we don't sit down to time block first our self-care, and the thing that really makes the entire train and the entire ship run, right, then nothing else matters. It's easy for things to fall off. So as you think about someone sitting down, maybe for the first time, or maybe they're just trying to stick with a system, maybe they've tried to time block and tried some productivity hacks, but it has not worked for them. Where do you think it's most important to start? Is it putting in that family time and those boundaries and the self-care first, and then coming at the rest of the approach?
I think there's no right or wrong answer for anyone, because it depends on where they're at on their journey, right? Where is their, because I think you and my like problems might be different than someone else's problems. Like for me, it would be different even than my best friend that is, a school teacher. So I think that for everyone that's really going to be idolized. And I would really again, take time to reflect and figure out, where do you feel like your thoughts are going the most? Where are you feel like there's the most struggle? I think that we all have to learn how to master our emotions. And a lot of times our emotions are telling us a lot. So what is our biggest worries? Is our biggest worry that physically I'm not in the greatest shape of my life? Is our biggest worry that I feel like I don't know what my purpose is? I feel like I'm just coasting through life? Is my biggest worry that there's not love or intimacy in my world? Is there I think that you really have to just self-reflect and ask yourself, but all of that kind of goes together. So, and if you're someone that's feeling listen to this and been I feel like it's everything. I don't quite know. I've been there. I get it. And I think that's part of growth is we grow and we learn through the hard stuff. And the hard stuff is what helps us to change and to help us to pivot and to help us move in the direction that we're supposed to. So I just want to encourage you, if you're listening to this, I feel you. I've had to learn to step in uncertainty in every aspect of my life. And when I say every aspect, I mean every aspect. And that's where we grow, and that's where we learn, and that's where we change. And so if you're someone that's feeling overwhelmed, a lot of times when we're feeling overwhelmed, we almost get paralysis. We don't know what to do, so we do nothing. And then we can even get to a point, I've been to a point where I'm I don't even care, which is a depression almost. You don't even care what the outcome is going to be. So if you're in any of those two stages, I want to encourage you to, number one, seek help, because someone else can see a different picture than you're seeing, which can help you embrace the hard stuff that you're in, but then also don't just sit in it. It's okay to go sit in the hard stuff. It's okay to I know things are going to happen that is external, but it's okay to go into that deep valley. Just don't stay in that deep valley. How do you need to pull yourself out? Is it getting help? Is it getting the knowledge that you need to? If you're struggling financially, do you need to learn how to repair your credit score? Do you need to, if it's emotions that you're struggling with, do you need to do emotion work? Do you need to get a therapist? If it's your business, do you need a mentor? Do you need a business coach? If it's physically, do you need a nutrition expert? Do you need to read a book? Do you need, there's endless ways that we can push our own growth. And the one thing that I feel like I'm put on this earth to do is I've been that depressed person, and I've been that person that has been in paralysis. And I just want to tell people that you can pull yourself out the other side and grow and learn from it. And you'll be amazed at what comes out on the other end, and you'll be so proud. So I don't think I know that was a really long-winded answer, but there's no right answer or wrong answer for anyone, because we're all on different journeys. And that's what it's about.
I love that. That's a thank you, number one, because I think 2020 of all years, I think has brought light to exactly what you're saying in so many people's lives. And it's easy to feel like you're alone and you're on an island trying to figure out how to deal with all these things. And going back to what you said, I think reflecting, like you said from the very beginning, and really asking yourself the hard questions so that you can get to the root of the issue and start to make that a priority, right? To
Yep.
figure out the answer to whatever that root issue is. I'm sure you've heard the quote many times of show me your calendar and you'll show me your priorities. And I feel like that doesn't just have to be a business thing. And I think so many times it's used that way. If you want to be successful in business, you have to show me the learning that you're doing in your business on your calendar. But I think to your point, it's more the personal. What is the root of what you're dealing with, and where is that landing on your calendar? I want to take this, kind of back into the nuts and bolts of how do you put it on your calendar weekly? Because I know you're great at this, and you mentioned time blocking. Can you explain that a little bit more in detail from someone who may not understand time blocking or hasn't had success with it yet?
Absolutely. So I'm very strategic with having 3 kids and multiple companies. I have to be very strategic with my time. Time, we always hear this, time is money, right? Time is really our life, even more than that. And imagine that we get $1,000 every day, right? And they're like, you got $1,000, you've got to spend it. How are you going to allocate it? That's what our money is. I mean, that's what our time is. Like we don't get that money back. Like we don't get that time back. How are we going to spend it? So what I do is I have very specific things for very different days. So for me, I work. So then on Mondays is our office days. I'm in there with the employees. I'm actually in the warehouse. Tuesdays are my content days. Wednesdays are my meeting days. Thursdays are my flex days, and Fridays are my wrap up days. So I have a formula for myself. Number one, that keeps me accountable. But number two, I communicate that to other people in my world so they know it's Tuesday, it's content day, it's Kristy's working from home. And I try to do my more creative stuff. I'm my most productive in the mornings. So again, setting up an overall schedule and time blocking out days is something that I would highly recommend if you're wanting to push growth in a different area, or if you're wanting to tackle something, scheduling that stuff out and just assigning it to ourselves. Like when we used to get assigned to do things, assigning it to ourselves is a very powerful thing. But then even when you're talking about the actual day, being efficient with it, again, I'm more creative in the morning, so I like putting my creative stuff on the front part of my day. But if I'm going to have meetings on a day, I like to schedule meetings back to back to back. So I only open up my schedule on certain days for meetings so that it's not interruptions. Because when we are jumping back and forth to different tasks or different things, again, it's just not efficient. I am that person when I have a doctor's appointment. Like I actually last week had my yearly checkups that I needed to go to. It was the doctor, it was the dentist, that I go every 6 months. And then it was also the OBGYN. Like I knocked all that out in an afternoon. Like it was like all in the same area. And it was literally doctor's office. But again, it's not, otherwise it would have been 30 minutes down there, like it would have taken up so much more of my time instead of just putting like-minded things together. Beginning of the week, I also knew I was going to be in the area. I could hit Costco, which is like a wholesale store in the South. And so again, just looking at your schedule and seeing what is on your to-do list, what do you need to get done? And can you tweak different things, putting like-minded things together or things that are within the same area together to be more efficient with our time?
Do you do that usually at the beginning of the week and the beginning of the month, like a time blocking day of sorts?
So I set a formula for my days. So that's like ongoing. So I guess you could say that's what I do at the beginning of the month. So I'll know at the beginning of the month, this is going to be the formula for the day. So like our podcast gets released on Thursday. We have team meetings on Monday. So yes, the answer to the question, yes, but it's not like, it's just something that's a known now. But then that's something that's set up, that's automated. Does that make sense? But then every single week I sit down on Sunday and I prep my Sunday for success for the week. So I am mapping out my times, making sure it's efficient. But again, I only open my schedule. So I know I'm not going to have meetings like Monday morning. I know I'm not going to have meetings, Monday or Wednesday morning, because I block those time out that I don't make myself available. But then also things like not only just that, every single Sunday I sit down and plan out what I'm going to eat for the week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it backs into a weekly grocery list. It's a tear out thing in our planner. Reason being is, what am I constantly going to be thinking about if I'm not going to have food? I'm going to be like, I'm hungry. What am I going to eat? Or my kids will be saying, Mom, what are we eating? So instead I just map it out. I then can create my grocery list, knowing what I have to be efficient. I usually have 2 or 3 things. It's like staples that I always do, that I know that they love, we love, it's easy. And again, it's all about creating systems and habits that make us more efficient with our time, to leave us more space to do the things that we enjoy and to not be stressed. So that, we are eating dinner and we know what we're eating on this night because my son's got a game, and I'm not just last minute trying to be like, what are we going to eat? Let's stop and get, like, I don't like fast food, and I try to avoid that as possible. Of course, there's life and I have things come up, or, I get tired too, but it's planning for success in a lot of areas that helps us to avoid those pitfalls.
I absolutely love that. Well, Kristy, I know your time is so precious. So I want to kind of ask you this question. I've got 2 questions left for you. First one is, the audience today is business women, mainly boutique owners, retailers. They're hustling. They've survived 2020. They want to make 2021 as successful as possible. What's your best tip for them to get more done and feel more productive in 2021?
I think the best tip would be, if you haven't already reflected, take some time to reflect. A lot of times we think that hustle or working harder will be more rewards. It's not necessarily that. It's working smarter. So if you haven't audited your schedule, if you haven't audited your to-do list, and really taken some time to do that, that is what I would say would be the most important thing. You will thrive, like all of us. I really feel like every single one of us are designed with a purpose and with intent, and we're all meant to be doing something. And so if you're listening to this, like, you are doing what you're meant to be doing, but is there something that's a pain point in your life that maybe you could make it better? Because I'm constantly having to tweak and refine and grow in different areas. So I would encourage you to write out what's kind of worrying you, and making sure that your focus is on things that you can control, and not your focus is on things that you can't. Because I think a lot of times when I talk to different people, like, they're worried and they're stressed out about this, or they feel like they're stuck, but they're focusing on things that are outside of their control. And instead, you should be pivoting and moving and focusing on what you can control and what you can be learning and all those different things. So my one tip would be to take some time to reflect and ask yourself what strategies need to be put into place, and where does your energy and focus need to be aligned to.
Such good advice. Spot on. Absolutely. And it segues well into, this is the last question I ask everyone on the podcast. And I think it goes back to really, what's the reason we're here on this earth? And it's not just to sell widgets, right? It's not just to have a business and sell things and make money, but it's about impacting other people's lives, really, and the greatest why that we have. So I'm curious, 30 years down the road, whatever happens to, your multiple businesses, you're sitting there on the front porch with grandbabies and you're talking about the life that you lived and the businesses you created and the lives that you touched. What are the things that you want them to remember most about you and the way that you lived your life?
I think the 2 words would be authenticity and love. That she loved what she did, that she stayed authentic and true, no matter what society thought or people thought, or even family and loved ones thought, that she did it with love and intent, and that those grandbabies and those kids that they're proud of, they not only feel the love, but they saw someone exemplify it, and be able to pour into other people through their purpose and through their passion as well. So I think that's what we all want, right? We all want to leave a legacy, and the legacy is not things. It's not significance. It's not status. It's how those people feel about you, and the love that was felt and the connections that happened. So I think for me, that's my number one now. It's love and connection, and loving what I do with who I do it with, and all the different things, so that I'm not just coasting through life. Like, I'm living life, because we don't know how much time each of us have. Like, I hope that I am old one day and can look back, but we don't know. And I think a lot of times that's the trap that a lot of us think, will happen. Mm-hmm. And I would just encourage each of us to audit our time and our schedules and our priorities, and making sure we're defining what success looks like for our own self. Because we don't know. I hope that I'm old one day and can look back and reflect, but we all have stories and journeys, and that's kind of the cool part. is the unknown. And it's also the scarier part that can sometimes paralyze us. So I know that was long-winded, but that's what came out.
I appreciate it. Well, Kristy, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today and sharing your wisdom and sharing the light that you are with the world outside of all of this, just the person that you are. It's been a pleasure to get to know you. And thanks again for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. This was a pleasure. So thank you again.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We hope that you loved it. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a rating and review down below for a chance to be one of our featured listeners each and every week. For more information on our spirit of community over competition and how to access complete show notes and bonus downloads from our guests, head on over to theboutiquehub.com and join the community. We'll see you next week.